Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Uniquely Designed. I'm so happy that you're connected. Do me a favor while you're watching or streaming or listening, whatever you're doing, please go ahead and share it. Send a text message to someone and let them know that it is on and that it's available now. Today, I'm talking with my guest, who's not necessarily a guest. He's the one who beats us down. He is our master. We work at his plantation, and we've been many years a slave. So I'm so happy to welcome my coach, my fitness, Larry Jackson. Welcome to the podcast.
Don't say all that.
If you all have seen any of my videos about working out, he is the inspiration behind all of it. And that is why I do what I do. Those are the things that I'm usually thinking and the prayers of which I am praying when I'm doing so. How did you were you, I don't know people that grew up saying I want to do fitness. At least I don't know anybody.
I mean, now we see little kids interested in it, but no, I didn't know anybody that wanted to do fitness either when I was young. So I didn't grow up saying that I wanted to do fitness either. I think when I was in high school, I started playing football, and I remember spraining my ankle, and I remember losing my position. I never got it back and ended up playing defense for the rest of the time that I was in high school. So I was playing running back at the time when I sprained my ankle, and I remember going to rehab. And after rehab, I was interested in physical therapy. So I know a lot of people are interested in that. So I feel like that's where it started for me. I saw that they had a sports medicine camp posted in their building, and so I started. I went to the sports medicine camp because I was trying to figure out, you know, sports medicine, all the different fields, like what that looked like, and see what I was interested in doing as far as school was concerned. I think my sister was probably in college at that time, so I was at least thinking about or wondering about what I was going to be doing. So that's how it started for me.
So was it like, even just looking back as long as you can remember? Because I think there takes a certain, it's one thing to go to school for things, but it's another thing like to be a trainer, coach, a certain mentality. Were
hmm
you the bossy one growing up?
No, I wouldn't say I was bossy. I was I may have been a coach then. I was more. I was a leader. I was a leader
Mhm.
growing up. I say not boss because I have an older sister, so she was the boss.
Okay.
And I think that I found my way starting things, or I started a organization when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, I started a club. It was called the Junior Discipleship Club.
Junior discipleship?
Yeah,
So it's Christian?
it was in church. Yeah, listen,
So what did y'all do?
it was a ploy to get our parents to take us to Chuck E. Cheese. I was always saving people. I'm like, look, we up in this church.
So you started a junior discipleship club,
Yes,
which was just to get the parents excited about y'all coming together so y'all could go to Chuck E.
I just
Cheese.
wanted them to take us to Chuck E. Cheese. I don't think we would have went no other way.
Okay, but how long did the group last?
It lasted for a while.
But what did y'all do?
We met, and then we would go to like the movies, or I remember seeing like God, I'm trying to remember some movies we see. It was the days of like Miss Doubtfire
Hmm.
and like the
Yeah,
movies like that. But we would go to the movies. They'd take us to Chuck E. Cheese. They would take us to restaurants,
just the junior
museums.
discipleship club. But I'm thinking, just from a church perspective, the discipleship club. Did y'all ever learn anything?
Look, we was learning a lot. We was in church every day. That was
Okay.
a problem to me.
Okay.
So I felt like that was a
So you
problem.
created
We
an
were
outlet.
always, yeah, we were always in church. We were in church. I feel like we were in church for something every day when I was a kid, and we weren't getting to go out and have fun. And
Mhm.
I found that to be an issue.
So you've always been, in some sense, a problem solver. So you
Yeah,
saw a problem.
I
They
saw
went church too
problems.
much.
We was in church too
Chuck E.
much.
Cheese, the
No
movies,
Chuck E.
Miss
Cheese.
Doubtfire. That
It
was
had to end. Chuck E. Cheese. Let's go. I didn't know we was gonna talk about this today, but
I'm,
yeah,
I'm just saying because there's got to be it's a track record of
yeah.
providing an outlet for people to get, and the parents were the sponsors
I'm sure we prayed.
before you ate.
I'm sure we prayed or something, but I just remember that was what it was all about.
You started a group. I'm stuck at that. That you started a discipleship group.
The Junior Discipleship Club. Yeah.
So
Shout out to all y'all Junior Discipleship Club members out there.
are they now the gym?
Um, my sister was in it. I know a couple girls that end up going to school at Fort Knox. They were in it. My brother, like all the kids that moved in the area. It was also we grew up on a military base, so people were in and out a lot. So we had folks that moved into the city to Radcliffe, Fort Knox area.
And I didn't know until now. I didn't know that you grew up on the military base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How was that? Like, just because I know a lot of people say they move around and
We lived
meet
in
different people.
We lived in Germany, and then my dad, they bought a house in Hardin County after my third grade year. So we started. I started grade school on a military base, and then we moved out to Hardin County, and I started fourth grade. I want to say
Okay.
all the way through high school.
Do
We
you,
lived in Germany as well, so that was cool.
do you think that any of that background, as far as being on a military base, seeing your dad, she said, did that shape you in any way?
Absolute. Well, for one, Hardin County has it's pretty eclectic with regard to restaurants. So I think I like to eat. So yeah,
Starting with Chuck E. Cheese.
Starting with Chuck E. Cheese, but yeah, like so German food, Korean, Chinese, Thai. I remember in school we used to have like an international day and be able to go around to each classroom and taste different food. That was the first time I had bulgogi. It was just Korean. It's like it's a steak, and it's the way they prepared it. That was the first time I had it. But we would have West African dishes, like all these different dishes, and you were exposed to that as a kid. Gosh, I feel like that was a huge influence of who I am today. Because I came to Lexington to start at UK in 1998, and I just thought that it was all white or black, and both just was frustrating. It's just the black people. We sat in one area, and then it was like all these white folk, and then you had to be like in the black area. It was like there was a way that you were supposed to be, and I was just so used to being around like so many different cultures. I'm like, I don't want to just hang out with y'all.
How did you? I mean, I know many people go to UK, but even with that being that you came from a diverse background, military base, exposed to many different cultures, many different things. How was that even just to be among just your own? Like you said, UK, you had to just.
It was difficult for me, and I feel like I didn't know the rules. I feel like that's why I didn't know what the rules were. I mean, This is like mostly. I grew up in Hardin County, so now when I'm in this group of just black people, some were from Louisville, some were from the East End, some were from the West End. So Middletown is that East End or is that just some suburb? And then there was people from Lexington, and then you meet people from Harrisburg or wherever, and like so the predominant number of people typically were from Louisville. So it was like there were rules. I felt like there were rules that were, and that were allowing or making for certain things to happen, and I didn't know what those rules were per se.
So I'm wondering. No, it does. I was just wondering because even looking now at what you do in coaching, you have a diverse group of people that you work with now. So it's like full circle in a sense, going back to how you were raised and being exposed to all different type of cultures, all different types of people, all different, because it's not just your gym. It's not just a black gym. It's all different types of people, all different types of body shapes and all types of stuff that you deal with and have a way of maneuvering and knowing exactly what's needed for each group. Did you see that type of leadership or development in the house? Like you think were you point back to your parents like, the first thing I saw?
They were structured. My dad was in the military, of course. And my mom, she married him. So, and I say that because I feel like she felt like she had to run the house in a certain way.
Okay.
And so I recall growing up, and in the bathroom, there was on our door, there was like all of the things that was supposed to happen in the bathroom. It like the upstairs bathroom had different rules than downstairs bathroom.
Okay.
Right, as far as cleaning the bathroom.
Okay.
Like, one had tub, one had shower, one had neither of those. Same with the kitchen, with dishes, with trash. There was like a rule for all. It was like a list of things, and so I just felt like my mom was just playing this the whole military thing. I'm like, God, hey, what's good? Like, can we just, live? But it was like it was a way. There was a way that you were supposed to, clean and do things. And I found that for me, growing up in my home, I did my best to stay out of trouble. That's really all I was learning how to do for the most part. I wanted to stay out of trouble. Yeah.
So it seems like structure was the name of the game.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. And it was structured in that way with that. Now I think with spirituality it was kind of okay, I mean, this preacher says these things, and these preachers say these things. Like, what's true? You know what I mean? Like, I remember first time I saw Creflo Dollar, I was like, oh, this is me, right? I like this, Not understanding at the time prosperity gospel and all that good stuff, but I remember the first time I listened to him, and it's thinking how vastly different it was from what I was listening to in the church.
Yeah.
My parents are from Alabama. We're from rural South Alabama, so strong Baptist.
Oh yeah, that's
strong Baptist.
What's that? The Bible Belt.
Yes, and so those completely different rules.
Yeah.
So I think as a kid, I was always walking around like, gosh, it's like these rules are just so different. I hear my dad talking about alcohol because he was more. I remember when he, so my dad, we had our home. But then there were times so we did a tour in Germany as a family, but then he did 2 more tours in Germany. And then he also did a tour in Korea. And when he was in Korea, he was a pastor of a church.
Really?
In Korea. And it was a non-denominational church. So my dad's worship, when he came back from Korea, was like vastly different than it was before he left. And so that was a transformation that we watched. We watched him become a Christian when we were little then. But then we watched him be a deacon, a Baptist deacon. We watched him be a minister. And then when of course, he's in the military, then we watched him, he pastored a church. And so, yeah.
Yeah. What was the language that when he was in Korea, were they English? Were they?
They were. It was a. I don't know if I'd have to ask him about it. There's probably had to be some type of interpreter at times,
okay.
But like there were a bunch of different nationalities there, but mostly like the army were there. But no, my point is like just in like as a kid examining those rules, I just remember him talking about drinking and alcohol. But then I'd be like, man, the deacon looked like he was like on lean. He put put some in his mouth, and when I'm down south in Alabama walking in, I'm like, deacon's over there smoking cigarettes, and like he has a flask. Like,
it's communion.
That's not the same. That was communion. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, that wasn't anything what my dad was saying. So I was like, there's just these different rules. So I was always kind of like, man, it's like, how should one be? Like, what's up with all
So how, before we go forward, how do you feel that you did in the midst of those varying different degrees of extremes? How did you land somewhere in the middle or somewhere?
With regard to
faith, spirituality.
Faith? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. This is how our conversation is going, and this is usually how our interactions are. But those of you are like, "What is going on here?"
Talking about?
This is how this goes.
Where have I landed? I think grace teaches us to not judge any of it. Um, and as far as I was heavily influenced by the last church that I was going to. It's called Mosaic. It was a multi-ethnic church. I liked it for that reason. Um, One of the core values of the church was emotional health, so I liked it for that reason. Um, and one thing that we talked about a lot was the aspect of discipleship and building big people and not necessarily big buildings, right? And so, because your people in that group some of them could go off and start another church, and we all should be applauding, right? Or sometimes that church or that community might be something that one creates, and that's what I did. I created a gym, a wellness center. I created a wellness center, and a part of like that was like really at that time being with them and listening to them and being under that leadership. It really fueled the growth of what I have now, actually. So, I mean, from the core values on, like the core values of Synergy Coach on, until even like now having a nonprofit, um, I think it came from there. So just building big people. And as far as, the pandemic, I think that changed a lot. Um, you know, you can start going to church where you wanted to go to church virtually. So I started going to Epiphany in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Shout out, Epiphany.
I don't know what Epiphany.
Oh man, Eric Mason.
Sounds so familiar to me.
He's fire. I think it's. I almost want to say it's Presbyterian.
Okay.
But
either way,
church.
and, really, and it wasn't just even, just church related, just, seeing various different extremes and, being exposed to so much, just landing like, this is what I feel my value system is, which is what you answered.
Yeah.
Because I was saying that knowing how, and I've not been to many gyms, Synergy is the only, my journey, I was working out, but not necessarily working out with results. So
That's fine. And that's fine too. Am I Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I was not working out with results. So when I landed in Synergy, it was not just about working out. Sure. It was that part where you talk about the wellness aspect and providing the whole holistic experience that I've heard you talk a lot about. And so, building big people, you deal with big people and small and all different types of things, so that's why I was leaning towards, because I think that you have constantly that leadership, as well as, making sure that people are well holistically, has been the center of what it is that you do. So where would even the word, even synergy and all that, where did that come from? And just like, this is, I know you talked about Mosaic and how, it was a launching pad or catalyst, but was that something you envisioned always, something that just sparked somewhere?
I knew that I wanted to work with different types of coaches. And I knew that I wanted to develop different type of coaches. Now in fitness, you have, like, by trade, I'm a board certified athletic trainer. I happen to have a license in massage. My interests are more around mobility. So performance and or rehabilitation are like my focuses. But then there are some trainers that are interested in weight loss. There are some that are interested in bodybuilding. There are some that are interested in powerlifting. And the job with Synergy Coach was to bring a lot of those different disciplines within training and create synergy amongst those coaches. And so that's kind of where that came about. We work with physical therapists. We just had maybe like a month ago, physical therapists came over just twice a year to look at our clients and make sure that they're doing certain things prior to their working out that helps keep their hips mobile or their shoulders more stable, to be able to perform the movements without injury. massage. We're getting ready. Well, we've already hired our first two massage therapists because we're getting ready to entertain a sports massage contract. So that'll be awesome. But just all of those disciplines, how they come together. Our dietitian, we've always had a dietitian, and all of those disciplines come together to create synergy for our clients. We feel like without each other, we wouldn't be able to create.
Yeah.
So a lot
I
of
think
it comes
that's
from
just
that.
an interesting concept because it's not, you know, it doesn't say Larry Jackson synergy.
Right.
It's creating that convergence between.
I've argued tooth and nail with folk when I first got started because the thought was I was supposed to name the business Larry Jackson Training. Because most trainers, I mean, you look at like fitness business, it's named after the trainer. And I was like, man, if I name it after me, and this is me like year one, I'm like, if I name it after me, then everybody's always gonna expect me, and I don't want to talk to nobody. Not for real. Not
Yeah.
I'm a bit of an introvert. I can meet people. I'm not interested in short talk. So for me, getting to know the client is important. But that's not necessarily
So I want
scale.
to talk
That's
about
not
that
scalable,
before
right?
you get to even the introvert. How does an introvert coach and deal with people, even if you're not really, that's not your go-to? How did you learn how to even compartmentalize that to deal with what you had to do?
I think the biggest part of being an introvert with regard to coaching that was a huge interest of mine was how do I not take on someone else's stress? Because I wouldn't say introverts. I wouldn't say it's synonymous that an introvert is empath, but I think it's somewhat close. I think there's like introverts get to know their client. They're gonna get to know their client, so they're gonna know what motivates them, what pushes them, but they're also gonna know like just lost a parent or just went through a divorce or job change or I hate my boss or whatever. Those things, and you can see those things at play when people are training. And so, like, how do you not take that? Like, that was the first thing like I took to my counselor when I first, I think like 2 years in, I started going to counseling, and I was super interested in going to counseling and understanding how do I not take on the stress of this person who just had an argument with their husband, and just be able to give them their choices for the day, coach, give them choices, and they pick what choices they have. I honor that and not be upset about it.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to not be attached to people's results. How to give them this is the roadmap for your results, and if you do this and this, you will get that. If you do this and this, if you do this and this, and you don't do this, you this is what you're gonna get. And if you do this and this, and you don't do that, you're gonna get this. And so it's like, and me not being upset about it either way.
Yeah.
I mean, just not being stressed about that. So I feel like that's a big part of like from an emotional standpoint, I feel like that was something that I did. And I think the other thing that I did, which actually helped the business, is I made sure that I created groups. So then they can talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah.
So they don't have to keep coming to you.
Then I don't gotta talk to them.
Yeah.
So you mad? You can tell her.
Yeah. So
you tell her you mad, and y'all work out.
So you have created not just synergy among coaches, synergy among
the clients. Yeah, it's important. I mean, it's super important.
Yeah, because as I know, in the time that I go, people challenge each other, and in some sense are, they're your accountability. Like if you missed, like you weren't here the other day, so that kind of helps to create that, as you said, synergy that amongst each other, that we're all looking at each other like, all right, and I've oftentimes, and now it goes back to the whole vision. I mean, there have been times where people have been lifting and it's just like you could tell they're struggling, and everybody will just start directing their attention towards that person, like, come on, you got it, go on, keep going, so that kind of flows down throughout, that whole type of feeling of support. So back to the, just being an introvert, you talked about that. And now, as far as, just developing a wellness center, how did that evolve?
So I rented, we were talking about that prior to this conversation. I rented from 3 to 4 outfits over the last 10 years. And we noticed things that weren't congruent with that of a space that individuals could grow and be well. And so when we noticed that, we started asking, well, what does it take to create that type of space? And we created now, which is a nonprofit, Resolve Fitness. Okay. So Resolve is a wellness incubator that we say facilitates dreams, because people who dream are people who create, and people who create facilitate hope. We empower individuals who have resolved pain, breathe life into the resolve of others. So like our biggest goal with Resolve is to, again, build big people. And we do so through executive coaching and mentorship. And we feel that the more that we do that and invest in trainers in that way, we create a better coach for the client that will come into the space. So we started investing in the thought, what if we created a wellness facility that helped individuals' brains change, and to not get too crazy into the neuroscience of it all, but we start looking at meditation as an intervention for trauma. Candace Hargens is a big influence. She did a research study on racial trauma and meditation as an intervention for racial trauma. So that was a big thing we started, studying. We started, I got certified in trauma-informed yoga. After getting certified in yoga, I didn't want to teach any classes without making sure that they were trauma-informed, to include everyone who've experienced trauma.
So do you know that people have experienced trauma when they come in, or how does that?
I mean, the thought process, I feel like everyone has experienced trauma. We don't know, nor do we require knowing trauma individuals have experienced, but we know that in our class, and like in our classes, that we want to make sure that we make room for that person as well. So like, for instance, and I mean, I think that what is enabling us to do is go after the most vulnerable. So like right now, we just wrote for a grant where we would interact and engage with youth that might be in the system, juvenile justice, and bring them in, introduce them to trauma-informed yoga, teach them how to meditate, teach them how to react in a healthy way with boxing, give them an executive coaching experience where we coach them on how to meditate even more and talk about their feelings, and give them a framework to talk about their feelings. And so that's a huge goal of ours, to start just pulling in grants like that. To this one is actually a gun violence prevention. It's like I keep kids out of trouble. What do they do with? You came to a talk I did earlier this year, but what do you do with the bad feelings that you feel inside? So like making sure that our space can serve the most vulnerable, as much as those who have a lot of money, but honestly, some of them jokers, they have issues as well, and so it's just like just being able to be full enough to coach it up.
I guess what I'm getting, what's interesting to me is how layered fitness is. The whole gamut of it. One would think, and I'm saying this from a novice standpoint, and from those people who might be watching or listening, who are afraid of getting involved in the whole fitness journey, because people, I can't tell you, and I know as a coach, you hear it all the time. I don't like working out. I don't like, because that's the only aspect that people see of it, versus how it might be helping you mentally, how it's, involving all different types of areas. What did I just say?
It's made me think about our fraternity brothers.
Okay.
Like, they scared.
Yeah, well,
And I'd be like, they be like, we just know you're gonna kill us if you come. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like, bruh, like, honestly, you need to really just be stretching. If we just create a class where you can come in and stretch, and they might feel like that's painful too, but there are still ways you can get into stretches without hurting yourself. So when you said that, it just made me think about them. And I'm always we're rebranding the site, and that's one thing that we're doing with the nonprofit website. We're rebranding it and talking more about a wellness center. That way we can hopefully get people in to have more intelligent conversations about wellness.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be silver sneakers, but it also doesn't have to be a daggone knockdown, drag out boot camp either.
How do you, just even with that, how do you encourage that conversation, or saying, hey, because what I'm hearing, and just correct me if I'm wrong, it's not just because sometimes people will automatically judge or label based on what people see, on outwardly. You need to be in the gym, you need to work out.
Sure.
But there's a whole different conversation, a whole different things that are behind that. It's not just you just sit at the table, eat all day, or it could be.
Or maybe you do. It's not the food either. It's not you sitting at home eating bacon all day, but if you sit at home eating bacon all day, you ain't moving.
It could be a series of bad choices.
Yeah.
Yes, I was trying not to pinpoint at all. Because you can also be small framed and equally be,
sure,
unhealthy. There are people who literally, and I want to talk about this as well. How do you, even there are people that I've heard through the years or know that have been what you would consider physically fit, working out and all this stuff, and then they just have a heart attack and die. So how do you engage, those conversations of you need to really take care of your whole self?
Myself included. I'm thinking about James Frazier. He's one of my best friends. He's a pharmacist. I think it might have been before you came by, but twice he's done blood tests for us. When he was working with one company, he did blood tests for us, and we were able to see our cholesterol, for example. And he would be like, okay, you need to eat more vegetables. He was talking to me. You need to eat more vegetables, and talking about what that would do with regard to my blood pressure, for example. You know what I'm saying? And so wellness can be super broad. I think that I love this conversation just in thinking through it. I'm thankful to be a part of our community here in Lexington, where there are multiple minority or Black, business owners that own wellness facilities or gyms, but for so long, this wasn't like the things that I like. My education, it wasn't, for Black folk.
Okay.
Unless they were playing like professional sports, something like that. But we didn't get to see. I think when yoga was introduced to the United States, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar knew about it, but my grandma, who could have used it to help her mobility, she didn't go to her mailbox and pull out a flyer and it said anything about stretching.
Yeah.
She always talked about her back pain, and this was things that I used to think about just like as a kid, like, man, why does grandma back hurt? And why is my other granny, she had a little medicine, like Monday through Saturday, she had all these pills.
Yeah.
And I was like, why does grandma have to take them? My granny got to take all them pills,
Yeah.
And I went to school and just opened up, and going to college and just opening up books and just seeing like blood pressure and high blood pressure and or diabetes, and of course the mental health. We've had people in my family that, who have mental health disorders, and so that was a big thing. So I was like, well, how about that? What's that? And so it's just so like the wellness field is so broad, and now we have such an opportunity. Like I meet so many Black healthcare and or wellness providers that are just being able to take that information to us now.
Do you
as
feel
well.
like people now, especially our demographic, do you feel like it is more accepted now? Do you feel like people are embracing it now? Or do you feel like people are still largely skeptic?
I think people are somewhat curious.
Okay.
I think we're more curious about a lot of it
Okay.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's gonna be your skepticism, but I think there's a curiosity to like, I think I'll try it.
Mhm.
You know, I'll go and take a group exercise class, see what that's like. And they're like,
Yeah.
you know, so we'll see.
How do you, for those who are, because we could talk about this forever, just wrap it up. For those people who are watching or are listening, that, because really, like me, I had to, for me, I knew I needed something different than what I was doing. It was I remember the very first time I came to Synergy, I was overwhelmed, because I was just like, looking at the equipment, I was just like, I don't know what to do, but of course you were there to guide through and stuff, and people were encouraging. But for those people who could be like me or others who are like, I know I need to do something. I know I need to move. I need to get engaged. I need to connect, but I don't know the first step. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid, how do you speak to them? Like, just like, what is the first thing they should even consider?
For us, and when I say us, I'm talking about Synergy Coach. We start everybody off with an evaluation, and it's a movement screen, and it lets us know how they move. It lets us know if, like what type of injury risk a person could have. We do posture assessment at that time as well. I think that, and then we give them a program. We start giving them a program. So, one, find someone that has a ability to do some assessment for you and tell you about your body. I think that's a big piece. I think when talking to us, just knowing that you don't have to be in pain to work out. Now, to that, once you start working out and you're lifting weights, like, yes, there is like a burning pain or whatever tension in your body. But as far as like having joint pain and like just like no thinking that it has to be like hard for you to train, I would say to that person, it does not have to be hard. You can easily enter into wellness by going to a local YMCA and going to sit in a sauna for 5 minutes and like just sweating. You know what I mean? Sit in the hot tub, treat yourself. You know what I mean? Before you get on an elliptical, something that or a bike, something that doesn't stress your joints as much. I would say those are great places to start. Massage therapy is a great place to start. Just like going and just seeing what massage therapists find in your body. Like if there's tightness in your body, just getting some of that alleviated, and just starting by stretching. Start by stretching and light cardio, and then from then just learn about different facets. Be willing to. I think for the other piece, just definitely be willing to learn, and also be willing to know that you don't know everything, and that there are people that are trained to help you learn those things over time. You're not supposed to know everything about strength training.
Yeah.
I don't care how many YouTubes, or I don't care what you saw on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know everything about.
Yeah, that's an interesting
weight
point. Just
training,
even talking about YouTube, you can watch YouTube, but it's almost like that. Remember sometimes commercials say, "Don't try this at home."
Right.
Like if you watch things that you shouldn't be doing, and you hurt something, and that person on YouTube, that video's gonna keep playing while you still laying in the middle of the floor. Broke something, tried something, pulled up on something, it wasn't a real pull up. You now, broke your back or whatever. So I think that's why it's important to have a coach or people who know what they're doing. But hey, wait a minute, stop that. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because I think that it's very important, talk about health and wellness, fitness and stuff like that. I just feel that people have so many Instagram goals,
sure,
and don't know
right
what that looks like, the discipline or the life behind that,
Yes.
So yeah, so I'll tell the people how they can find you, how they can follow you, and get connected.
Yeah, get connected to us on my Synergy Coach is Synergy 7 Coach. That's my Instagram. And then Resolve Fitness. Go to resolvefitness.org. Resolvefitness.org. We also are fundraising now officially for programs to help the most vulnerable grow their minds and be exposed to the wellness field. So we're looking forward to getting that going, and appreciate any donations as well to kind of get us going. So yeah, I think my Synergy Coach's website as well. That's synergycoach.co. www.synergycoach.co. You can find us there and find all our information there.
Well, I appreciate you being on here and finding out that you had a junior discipleship club. I've been stuck at that for this entire time, and we are now the Synergy Disciples. So we just don't go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, that's right.
So thank y'all for tuning in to this episode. And as always, don't just get your body right, but make sure you embrace your own unique design. I'll see you next time.